Well, good evening, everybody. Glad to have you here. This is something we haven't done for a long, long time. We used to do these webinars. I think AJ used to do them for us, but it's been too long, and it's good to be back with everybody. And hopefully, you guys will enjoy what Jamie and Clay have to show you. This evening, Eric Christopher will be helping us host this. He's going to be emceeing this and making sure we don't screw things up too bad. So take it away, Eric.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Grant, for having me to be the guest MC here today. For those of you that don't know me, I've been a long-time user of Headway, a big proponent of Headway themes for a very, very, very long time. Actually, I'll hopefully show you guys a little bit later where I actually did a guest post 3 years ago talking about the importance of being responsibly design friendly. I know Google talked about that. I own a marketing company, digital marketing agency, and basically do a lot of consulting to other agencies and brands. And so I want to apologize, first of all. I know some of you guys are kind of wondering like what's going on with this registration process and weren't familiar. We had set up a page. We kind of threw this together impromptu and put together like a page that these guys here at Headway, because they've been so busy working so hard at getting 4.0 perfected. It's almost there. We're going to show you a sneak peek of that today. Super excited about that. But again, this is really an impromptu thing that we kind of all collaborated on at the very last minute. And so apologize for any like autoresponder issues that you had. Again, if you don't want to be on my list, feel free to unsubscribe. But one of the things that I would like to do to make up for any confusion is I'll host a completely complimentary free webinar on how to better market your business if that helps. Today is definitely not about me. I just want to be here to help celebrate and put the focus on Grant, Clay, and Jamie here, the team at Headway Themes. To celebrate, congratulations, the 6-year anniversary mark. And with that said, I want to just turn it over to you, the incredible founder, co-founder, Grant Griffiths, and kind of maybe share the story a little bit of how Headway got started and kind of how everything progressed into what it is today.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I just noticed in the chat that somebody said they started with us when they on a 2.06. We had a 2.07, and Corey, who's been with us, I believe, from day one, started with version 1.0. So, I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for all of you guys, we wouldn't be where we're at today. And it's been an amazing 6 years. We've had a few bumps in the road. I'll be the first one to admit that. I think we all remember the move from 2.0 to 3.0. We won't talk about that. But we started. It'll be 6. It's actually 6 years today. Clay started building Headway, what we ended up calling Headway. I believe it was April of 2009, and if I remember right, it was April 26th. And the reason I know that is because Clay had told me one day in his log of when he started coding Headway, it was April 26th. Headway, for those of you that don't know, Headway started out as a tool that Clay actually built to use himself to help set up the websites that I was selling to customers in my consulting business, to professional service firms, and Clay started building Headway so that he could build sites quicker. And it's kind of, I don't know how many of you have any background or understand building stuff or welding or anything like that, but there's such a thing as a jig, and it gives you a way to put things together real quick. And I kind of remember the original Headway being kind of like that, where it helped people build things, helped us build things really quick. When we first started out, Clay built this, and I showed it to a couple people, and both of them said, and this is almost the exact word they said build it and people will buy it. And I go, what do you mean? And they both said, you need to finish this because this is something that is a product that needs to be built. Well, Clay being Clay, I told him this, and he said, I can do that, and he did. And that summer, Clay started building 1.0, and we launched it 6 years ago today. And right now we're in version 3.8.2, I believe, and it really doesn't seem possible. We've grown not only in the versions of Headway, but as you see the homepage of our website on the screen now, we've changed a lot in just our website even from the first site, and it's almost like as the company has matured. And we've matured as a business. Our website has matured also, and that's been fun to watch also. We added in the Extend Marketplace. Gosh, what was that, 2 years ago? And then with that, we have our group of third-party developers that are building things that are going into the Headway marketplace, the Extend Marketplace. And like I said, without the community of third-party developers, and all of our users, and how much our users do help us as far as beta testing and giving us input, and we do listen to that input, and I think you're going to see some of the results of that input today. We simply would not be where we're at, and I'd like to give a very warm thank you for that. I know we wouldn't be there without you guys. As far as the future of Headway, you're going to see some of that future today. 4.0, quite frankly, is simply amazing. And I know I've said that before, but this really is just an amazing update or upgrade. It's really a complete new version. Clay will talk about that more in a few minutes. We have some more things coming down the road. I'm not going to tell you what they are, and that'll be coming soon enough. The first thing we got to do, of course, is get 4.0 out, and after that, I'm sure we'll be announcing some more things coming. That's really about all I have as far as the history of Headway. I know I always forget things, but anyway.
So first of all, you guys didn't know I was going to throw in some Google effects, right?
I didn't know that.
Like to keep it fun, guys. I mean, I hope you guys can appreciate, having a little bit of fun. This is a celebration after all. 6 years. I mean, I think average business fails 80%, fail within the first 2 to 5 years, depending on what statistics you reference. So having made it past 5 years now, going on, celebrating your 6th birthday is just an amazing accomplishment. And I'm curious to know. I had an opportunity to meet Clay personally at Pressnomics at a private conference in Arizona. And I'm just curious to know, who here has ever got a chance to hear or participate in any kind of live event with Clay ever in the 6-year history? Type in the chat box if you've ever actually had a chance to kind of personally or digitally interact with this gentleman live, because he's going to come and do a sneak peek preview here in just a minute, which I think everybody is really excited about, right? And going back again, what I really enjoy about Headway as a longtime user is that you guys have been really progressive and staying ahead of the curve in terms of the trends that are happening in the internet marketing world. It's not just about website building, but you guys obviously factor in things like search engine optimization built in. We talked about building out responsive design. I know, Clay, we were talking a couple weeks ago about integrating some other technical things that help with search engine and website development. But I know a lot of you guys came here today because you guys wanted to see if it's really possible to build a website in under 15 minutes. Now, we're not saying you're going to build a multi-million-dollar website in 15 minutes, right? But I think the real appealing thing about Headway Themes is its ability to simply create elegant sites without the traditional headaches of coding. And so we're definitely excited to have another one of the Headway team members here who's going to actually give you guys an update on the current version of Headway. And then I believe she's actually going to do a live, pretty much unrehearsed, on-the-spot countdown, 15-minute or less demonstration on on how you can build a simple yet elegant website with Headway themes. And so I want to turn it over to Jamie. Jamie, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to turn it over to you to share yours.
Hi, everyone. This is Jamie. You probably know me from the forums or from our new ticketing system for support. I do the screencasts on the blog and some other things kind of in the background as well. First, I'm going to go over with you guys the changes that you're going to see in 3.83, which is the next version in the 3.0 release group. And there's 4 major things that we want to highlight with that. And 2 of them actually are related to compatibility changes, and 2 of them are additional features. The 2 compatibility improvements that we've implemented are increased compatibility with caching plugins. So this came up actually in the forum discussion about having a caching plugin enabled while you're working in the visual editor, and when Headway should clear the cache and things like that. So Clay has gone ahead and made a bunch of changes. We've tested them, so we believe you're going to like those changes. Specifically, I know we've tested Super Cache, Total Cache, Headway Rocket. So hope you guys like that. The second thing is increased compatibility with the WordPress host WP engine. There were some issues some of the customers were having with larger sites, and Clay's made some improvements in that area too. So those are the compatibility. The 2 changes regarding that actually are in Headway that you can see are in the layout selector. When you search for something and hit search, you are going to see that loading icon now. I know on some larger sites you're not seeing that, so you don't know that it's actually searching. And the second thing also came up from a user, suggested it to me, I suggested it to Clay, and he made it so. In the mirror block dropdown, it is now organized by layout, and you can search it like the layout selector to find what you're looking for. Now, before any of you ask, talk to Clay just today about implementing this for the wrappers. It's not there yet, but he did say that it's possible, so we'll see if that happens. So, having said all of that, the next thing I'm going to do for you guys using 3.83 is actually design something. So, I'm going to go back into the visual editor. It's going to be a blank screen, and I'm going to do a design in 15 minutes or less, hopefully. Now, Eric said it was completely unrehearsed. That's a lie. I have rehearsed it, as some of the Slack group people know. But it's still going to be, I've changed things since initially. A couple things I just want to go over first before I get started with the actual presentation. I have set up a workflow, and this is what I do normally on a design. I have created a static front page, or I knew this design was going to use a static front page. So I created those pages already, blog and home, and then in WordPress settings, and then reading, I set those pages as my static front page and my blog index. So in the layout selector, these pages now become front page and blog index. So the other thing that I've done is planned out the design ahead of time to streamline it. I've also, see if I can click on that here. I've also created a document that has the colors I'm going to use and some text that I'm going to use for easy copy and paste. And the last thing I've done is picked out the images I'm going to use in advance and uploaded them to the media library so that they're easy accessible to me. So with that said, I'm going to start with a blank grid. I'm not going to change any of the settings. Just a note, responsive grid is now enabled by default. I think that happened in 3.82, so I don't have to mess with any of that. And I'm going to start right now. And the first thing that you're going to see me do, this is a multi-wrapper layout. I'm going to do a header, hide the tagline, and get started here. So this is going to be 4 or 5 wrappers, I think. And the other thing that I'm doing is using the content block wherever I can. So all of my content has been pre-created in WordPress, and I'm using the custom query option of the content block to fetch those. I'm going to give my blocks a name so I can easily reference them. And then I don't want this title to show, so I'm going to hide that title. And you'll see the block alias that I gave, info is right there. Now this next section is actually going to use text blocks because I couldn't get the desired look I wanted using the WordPress screen, the page editor. So all I'm doing here is kind of creating a feature section, and the blocks are going to be basically exactly the same except for the same setup. It's going to be a different image in each, obviously, and different text in each. So like I said, I created that document for a reason, and it was to make this workflow. And I would do that anyway if I was using text blocks, just so it's faster. For some reason, the text block is not behaving, so I'm just going to refresh here quick. Maybe that will fix whatever's going on. And I had some trouble earlier too. So, okay, so we're on our last text block here, and like I said, this is just a features section, and we'll worry about the design once we get to design mode. Alrighty, got just a few more wrappers here. This next one is also going to be a content block. And this one I'm actually leaving it to default because I want it to show the content from the home screen or the home page. And this one is features. Actually, did I?
So, Jamie, is it correct in my assumption that what you've created the content on the pages inside the WordPress administration area, and then you're taking these blocks and then basically channeling the content from those pages into those areas? Is that correct?
That's correct. And I recommend this to customers all the time, to keep as much as your content as possible within Headway. I mean, within WordPress, and use text blocks. I mean, they're there for small snippets of code or small snippets of text, but I like to tell people that if the content that you're entering in the text block won't change if you switch themes, not that we want you to switch away from Headway at all, but if you decided to change things or you had to for some reason, your content is still in Headway or WordPress, and you don't have to recreate all of that. So now I'm creating the footer here, and again I'm using another content block, and that should be the last content block here. I'm going to add a social block, a search block, and a footer block into this footer area. That show search button just makes it so there's no search button that displays, it's just the input area. Okay, so now we've got our set up here, and this is just on their front page, but I'm going to go ahead now, and each one of these wrappers is going to be fluid, so I'm changing them each one by one. I could have done it at the beginning, but I found it faster to go this way. And this design is fluid. You don't have to use fluid, obviously. There definitely are some people in our community that advocate for fluid all the time. But you know, sometimes you're working with clients and you don't get to make that choice. Okay, so now everything's fluid. And I'm going to switch over to design mode and hope I didn't forget anything over there. So what I'm going to start with is some global stuff that I'm going to change. First, I'm going to start with my wrappers, and I'm going to get rid of the box shadow. I use the Styles Paint all the time. I did a whole screencast on it because I used it a lot to easily get rid of things. I'm getting rid of the default margins and box shadow, and then I'm going to click it, and it will open up down here where I can edit the padding, and I'm going to adjust my padding globally on all wrappers right now. And the reason I'm doing globally is because most of my wrappers, or all but one, are going to have the same padding settings, and then I'm going to adjust this top wrapper differently. So we'll do that right now, and I'm going to just adjust the bottom padding and the top padding on this.
Jamie, there's questions that people asking what fluid means.
Okay, I actually did a whole screencast on what a fluid wrapper is, and so essentially, I'm gonna, if I can pop the link in, I'll definitely do that. Actually, I did a whole screencast on wrappers. Let's see, working with wrappers. So I'll go over it basically, but then I will make sure to post that in the chat. So there's a fixed wrapper, fixed grid, which means, for example, my grid size is 940 pixels. If I created a fixed wrapper, which is what is default, it's going to default to the width. The wrapper width is going to be fixed to 940 pixels. If I do a fluid wrapper, the wrapper is going to extend from one edge of the screen to the other screen, but then this is a fixed grid, so the grid stays at 940 pixels, so your blocks are not going to go outside that 940 pixels, but your wrapper is. And then a fluid is everything, blocks and wrapper go from screen to screen. So I will make sure and post that link in the chat so you guys can watch the screencast that goes over that in a little more detail. Okay, so back to this. Okay, a couple more options we have to remove. I don't want that border. So again, I just selected the regular element. I'm just removing the border right now. And then I'm going to go ahead, and here's something else I do for a workflow, because I have my colors saved in a document. Once I start getting to the point of working with colors, I just go ahead and add my swatches right away. So they're all in there, and I don't have to go back and forth. This is a real simple color palette for this design, so I only have basically 3 and then the gray. So I'm doing, this wrapper is going to be green or teal looking color, and then I'm going to go ahead and make the rest of the changes for this wrapper here. And again, I'm using the Styles pane. You don't have to, you can use the navigator as well, but I definitely like the Styles pane and use it a lot. And I'm just changing the font color to white, except for the selected state, which is kind of the active page, and the hover state are both going to be that same teal color, and you'll be able to see that once I can hover over it. Actually, see, look at, I messed up already. This top wrapper is not green, it's blue. There we go. And I'm also going to change the site color. Again, regular element, because I'm only going to have one header block, so I don't have to worry about different styles. And I'm not going to mess with anything with that right now, but what I am going to do is get rid of this font here. I'm going to just pick probably the font I see the most on the web nowadays is Open Sans. And here we go. And to see what it really looks like without this pane here, I'll move that so you can see where we're going. I'm going to also adjust globally, I'm in global styling right now, heading sizes, because I have those, I want those to be a certain size across the board. And then I'm going to remove something I know that is going to conflict with that, and I probably know this just by going through prepping through this, but there is a default setting for headings within the content block. And since I'm using the content block all throughout, I'm going to remove that because I don't want it interfering with my global settings. Okay, next thing we're going to do is edit this wrapper. And I'm editing the instance because I only want to edit this particular wrapper. And then I'm also going to change the alignment to center. And I'm adjusting the wrapper because I want everything in here to be centered. So that's kind of a little trick, perhaps. Maybe you didn't know you could do that, but you can. Adjusting the font color because I want it all to be white. There's a lot of white in here. I'm just refreshing so you can see where we're at. So we're starting to somewhat, that block didn't really want to play here. You're starting to somewhat see where I'm going with this, and this wrapper is going to be centered as well, so I'm going to do the same thing. I selected the instance of the wrapper and I'm centering it now. And then I'm also going to style this. Now I'm editing the instance, I'm changing the font size and the font color. And what I'm going to do, some of you know this and some of you don't, there's an experimental copy and paste feature. So while I've got font selected on my Mac, I'm going to hit Command C, and then I'm going to edit this instance as well. Go open the fonts, and it's now copy and pasted. And I'm also going to do this for this block, even though the content isn't in there for some reason that I put in there, because I'm going to go back into grid mode and fix that. For some reason, when it duplicated the block, or maybe I did something wrong, it didn't keep it in there. So we're going to go back. Make sure it's saved. And then I'm going to refresh, and then hopefully things are exactly like I wanted it to be. Okay, so the next thing I'm moving on to is this next wrapper. Again, I'm editing the instance. And the reason when I edited the, just so you understand my workflow, the reason I didn't change the font color when I edited the headings globally is because then it would also adjust them on my pages being white, and I didn't want that. So just so you can understand why I did something, said it was global, and then didn't change the font color. Okay. We're getting down to our end of our wrappers, and I did also forget something in grid mode. I forgot to put the social icons in, so we'll go back and do that. This one is going to be centered. I'm not adding a background color. And it's mostly done, except I need to edit this, and I just want to increase the font size a little bit. And change the color to indicate if that was actually going to be a link, you would want to change the color. These are, okay, so I'm going to go back into grid mode now. So hopefully, you might end up doing this too, where you forgot something important to do in grid mode. I typically try to do everything I can in grid mode and then switch over to design mode so I don't have to go back and forth. And those of you that are frustrated with that are going to like the 4.0 preview. So right now I'm adding a block title to these blocks down in the footer, except for the footer block, and then I'm going to style those. So I forgot that also. Alright, so now I'm going to save and refresh, and we're almost done, at least with the front page, and then I'm also going to cover some of the interior pages, how to transfer this, how to clone and remove the stuff that you don't want for the interior layouts. So I'm going to make this blue, and then we're going to I still forgot to add the social icons. That's okay. We're almost done. And normally I would style this a little bit more, but for purposes of this this webinar, I'm just going to leave it alone. I am going to get rid of that footer border though, because I don't like it. And then I'm going to again change the font color for the entire footer to white. But there are some default styles that are preventing that from actually working. So I'm going to go down and find that and remove that font color. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a little centering here. For some reason, it's not centering actually live. I'm not sure why. Okay, so this is our front page that's mostly done, except for me adding the social icons. And then I'm going to switch back to grid mode hopefully one more time, add those social icons, and then I'll do the cloning. So again, I've already uploaded my social icons. For those of you unaware, there's 2 built-in sets, and then you can also choose custom. For this, I'm using custom, and I want them to be horizontally aligned, not vertically. I'm going to go ahead and add my icons now. I'm using 3. This little plus allows me to add more options or add more icons here. So I'm just going to do Google+, Twitter, and Facebook. And then I saved it, and hopefully, seriously? Good grief, they're there. Interesting. So, I'm not sure if they're on the live site. They are not. I bet I know what the problem is. At least I hope I do. There we go. So now they're there, and I'm going to do some quick centering on this. But I want the black container, or icon container actually. I'm going to center it and load the live site, and then you can see. Okay, so this page is done as far as purposes of this webinar, except I do have to, in WordPress appearance menus, assign my menu to my navigation block, so only the menu items that I want show up. And there we go. So the other thing I'm going to show you right now real quick is if I wanted this similar setup and same design on the other pages, but I don't want some of those wrappers that have the Headway info, I'm going to go ahead and click on Customize Current Layout. I'm going to clone the front page, and then I'm going to get rid of these wrappers that I don't like or don't want on my blog index or my other pages. And you can see where we're at so far with that. I'm deleting this wrapper. And then I'm going to unmirror this block and go ahead and hit back to show title so it actually works. And then obviously you're going to want to work on spacing and everything, but that's how you would go ahead and add that on there. And the feature or the interior pages work. Not sure about the green on there, but so I could have picked a different wrappers content block, but or picked a different wrapper to delete. But then all my pages inherit that layout from the blog index. So there is a pretty simple, kind of but a little bit modern design. And a couple things I did want to go over with you guys before I turn it over to Clay, I believe, well, probably Eric then Clay, is a couple things to check before, if you were ready to launch, if that design was done and I was ready to launch, I would want to go in, besides SEO and all that stuff, I'd want to go in here, and I typically recommend turning this dependency query variables on. As it says here, it helps with browser caching. The second thing I would check if I were you is in WordPress settings reading. Make sure if you turned off search engine visibility while you were building, that you uncheck that, because you obviously do want to be visible to search engines. And then, of course, install your necessary plugins, backups, security, etc. So I hope that helps some of you maybe learn some new techniques or new ideas, things you didn't know how to do with Headway, or weren't sure what a feature was. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Eric.
Awesome. So I wanted to ask you a few quick questions, Jamie, and I want to, some of you guys and girls are coming on here a little bit late, so we just want to emphasize what you just saw was an update, and basically Jamie building a website very quickly in about 15-20 minutes, right? She obviously had some things prepared ahead of time, but obviously in a very short amount of time. And my first question is to you is this, Jamie, is if you had to code that from scratch, how long do you think that would have taken if you had to just kind of manually hand code that?
A very long time. That's one of my favorite things about Headway. I mean, it would have taken hours. What you can think, all it takes is you to draw a box, and Headway outputs not only the HTML code, but it also some basic CSS too. So I don't know how you can create websites faster by hand. I don't. The people that say they can, I just don't believe them.
And then obviously there's people here that aren't Headway customers, and obviously you having experience with Headway natively, you work with it probably on a regular daily basis. What would the learning curve to be for someone to use this? And obviously it would take them a little bit longer. There's going to be some sort of a learning curve, but what's in your experience that has been a novice's experience when using Headway themes to build their own website, let's say?
Someone that's completely brand new, I think it would depend if they're familiar with WordPress at all, or if they're learning both WordPress and Headway at the same time. We do have some people that come to us never having used WordPress before, and so at least in support, we go through some of that with them, some of the kind of WordPress 101 stuff. So for someone like that has never used WordPress before, it's definitely going to take longer than a few hours. It could take a couple days. Some people it takes longer. But for somebody that's familiar with WordPress, I think they catch on quite a bit quicker. And you could at least understand the basics of it after reviewing the documentation and whatnot in a couple hours. I mean, that's not obviously going to be the same for everyone, because everyone learns differently. And that's one of the reasons we started bringing back screencasts. For those that don't know, I haven't done one in a little while, but on the official blog, I've been doing these screencasts of showing off the features or how to do things with Headway, and as we move forward, they're going to be in our documentation mainly, probably, but still it's going to be some on the blog. But anyway, some people are visual learners, so that's why we started doing more of those. AJ used to do them for Headway, and then I kind of took that over. So.
Well, you're getting a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people saying that they're loving the presentation, that you did a great job. And that, some people are saying, hey, it took about a week to be able to kind of learn Headway and kind of get started. So getting a lot of positive feedback. Even one person is saying you're better than cream cheese. So I think that's a good thing, right?
I hope so.
So the next thing that we want to do, I know why a lot of you guys and girls came to attend today's live event, is because you wanted to see a sneak peek of version 4.0. So type in the chat box if you're ready to see a sneak peek of version 4.0 in its not quite ready to launch state. And then while we're doing that, we're also going, and I know, Grant, I don't know if you want to chime in on this, if you want to clarify this, but I know that one of the things that we wanted to do, that you guys wanted to do, Grant, was to offer everyone an opportunity to take advantage of Headway themes at a steeply discounted rate just for this webinar for the next 24 hours or so. Did you want to talk a little bit about that before we announce the promotion and then let the demo begin?
We don't want to give them the discount now. I don't want everybody to leave and go buy everything out of the extend right now. So we are going to be offering a discount. as part of you guys showing up for this webinar, we're going to give everybody here a 50% discount on everything. So everything in Extend, any Headway license. That discount will be from today until 6 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. So that would be 6 p.m. Saturday. After that time, and it's going to be a very strict cutoff. I'm not going to extend it. After that, we're going to run a 35% discount on everything until 11:59 p.m. Friday night. That's Central Time, so that would be a week from tonight. So if you're wanting to do anything as far as upgrades, purchase any blocks, any templates, I would buy them before 6 p.m. tomorrow. So, and we'll give the code out in a little while because I want everybody to hang around and watch 4.0.
Well, very exciting. So I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that because I know some of you typed in the chat box that you had to run off in a little bit. We just wanted to kind of make that announcement so that you guys were aware of what's going on, didn't miss out on an opportunity if you're not a Headway Themes customer or if you need some additional blocks or extensions to be able to have that in your arsenal at a discount. So with that, I'm curious to know if anybody's ever seen Clay Griffiths out in the wild, right? I mean, we all heard about the man, the myth, the legend, kind of hold up, just kind of coding, wired in, locked down, doing his thing, developing. I'm super excited to actually have Clay come on here and do the first ever live demonstration of Headway Themes version 4.0. So with that, Clay, I want to introduce you and let you take over.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying this webinar and having a good afternoon. I'm going to show you a quick peek of 4.0 and what we're working on. Let's see if my screen pops up here. Okay. All right.
Yep, we can see your screen.
Awesome. So one thing you may have noticed Jamie going, what she was doing was switching between modes quite a bit between grid and design. Well, with 4.0, it's all one mode now. There's no switching. You can now see the styling as well as the layout, and you can even drag blocks around and the styling will still stay there. One of the biggest improvements in 4.0 other than the combined modes is new math for the grid render. Before, in Headway 3, you wouldn't be able to do a layout like this. You need to line up the tops of blocks like so. But with 4, I can actually bring this block down and it'll respect this margin. And I can even go on and do some crazier things like shove these in here awkwardly. And I'll save this real quick and show you the live site, and it rendered it perfectly. So again, vertical margins are respected. I can place this block anywhere and it will put that in, and these are not absolutely positioned or anything like that. These are done with margins, classes, and so on. No bloated, nasty code. Next up is, I know a lot of people sometimes lose their work when their WordPress session expires. We've integrated with WordPress's Heartbeat API. That's basically their fancy name for the browser periodically pinging the backend to make sure they're logged in and security is matched up. So I'll log out real quick and then switch back to the visual editor. And well, I guess I don't have to do it. For the sake of time, I was going to run a command to make this pop up, but it checks every 60 seconds. So I'll log in real quick. And then I'm back in and I can save. So one thing we're trying to phase out is the grid wizard and those presets and going with a little more interactive solution and say hello to the new add wrapper panel. And this is how you'll add your regular blank wrappers. So here's a fixed wrapper, fixed grid, fluid wrapper, fixed grid, and then fluid, as Jamie calls it. And to add these, I simply just click down. You may not see it due to Hangouts, and then I'll just drag it and move it above the other wrapper. And I can add these in anywhere, rather than clicking a button and then dragging it in. You'll also notice a few new icons on the wrapper. It's styled differently, so we can go ahead and delete those. And of course, you can rearrange the wrappers like usual. And here's the new add wrapper presets, and we have one preset to show you guys. There will be plenty more. Here's a simple fluid wrapper with a fixed grid, and it has a header block, a navigation block, and then a search block. And I'll just drag this in here, and then everything is populated and inserted. And please note the styling is not perfect. I simply copied over some styling from the previous template for the sake of development, but we'll have a brand new default style and everything will be nice and shiny. And then here's what I just added. So it's much faster. And if you noticed, I haven't really refreshed or switched between modes like Jamie has. And next up is mobile device previews. And before I do that, I better have a layout that's not completely unrealistic.
And Clay, if you can, is it possible? Some people are saying that if the screen could be a little bit bigger, I don't know if there's a way you can easily expand the screen so they can see it a little bit more.
Like that?
I think that'll be a little bit better. Thank you.
Okay. So now that that's saved, I'll go into the device preview. So you can see desktop, tablets, and smartphones. Right now you can only see it in portrait orientation, but you will be able to see it in landscape. The button's just simply not here right now. So there's iPad, and here's what it will look like on iPhone. And you can actually go through and click on things and use it as if you're on a mobile device. And then you can simply switch right back to desktop. One thing that I can't show you, unfortunately, is a design editor. It's still being worked on. I can tell you that it will be much better than what's in Headway 3. The biggest improvement will be the CSS, the live CSS editor will be synced to the design editor values. This means when you edit the CSS, all those inputs that make everything easy in the editor are actually going to update, and vice versa. So if I go in and change something with the inputs, it'll actually update the CSS. And this is great because you can easily remove styling simply by selecting the CSS and deleting it. And it will allow you to remove any, if you want to say bloat, you can remove that and really tailor this specifically to your needs. And there will be...
You're getting some serious positive feedback about the CSS sync.
Awesome.
Everybody seems excited about
it. One question is, can you edit in the mobile views? I am going to integrate that with the design editor. So if you have that open and then are viewing it on a device, it will make media query specific edits as you wish. You won't be able to edit layouts when 4.0 is released for mobile devices, but that's something we'll look into, and maybe we'll even throw in a easier way to do responsive block hiding while viewing these devices with maybe a simple right click and hide on this device. And then there will be a wireframe button, and that'll look somewhat similar to what's in Headway 3 right now, but again, that's not completed. And then we have undo instead of just Command or Control Z or Control or Command X for redo. Those are going to be visible buttons. And then, of course, snapshots will still be here. And we're also getting rid of the bottom panel in favor of going back to our roots of Headway 1.6 and doing floating boxes. We're just going to try to simplify our blocks so the options fit in these rather than a big long panel. And if anything's too complicated to fit in here, it simply means it needs to be split up into more blocks. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask later on. This is what I have to show you for now. We're going to do another webinar and show you the design editor, so make sure you watch your email.
Yeah, you're getting just like the chat box is just going like bananas is the best way to describe it. And everybody's just got lots of positive feedback and seems really super excited. Do you mind if I go ahead and ask some of the questions that are relevant to what you just showed, Clay?
Yeah, sure.
So Dave is asking, are you able now to show block option panels now, or is that something that will have to wait till 4.0 is refined?
This is a header block option panel right now. It's the same as before.
Will you share your screen again, please?
Yeah, we're not seeing it.
My bad. Okay, there it is. So I can show the header because it's simple and there's not very many options, but if I open up something like content, there are some options that bleed over. But we'll be moving things like responsive control and config into more convenient places rather than cramming this all into one big panel.
Awesome. And then what Paul's asking, will there be search in the new CSS editor?
There's actually already search in the CSS editor now. I believe you just do Command F to find, and then Control H to do replace. You might actually have to do Control F because it's powered by ACE, and it might pop open your browser find if you do Command F on a Mac. I will address one question. As far as the block API goes, everything's going to stay the same. There will be a few new options, but those options are simply going to be to control the dimensions of your block options panel. So if you'll notice, the header block option panel is pretty small, and then the content block one is slightly bigger. And you'll have full control over that with a block API.
And then, Grant, I wanted to ask you, did you still want to, is there anything else that, Clay, you wanted to demo real quick? Or Grant, should we go ahead and let everyone in if they wanted to take advantage of Headway, if they're not already a customer, and start, if they want to take advantage of the offer? You wanted me to go ahead and post that?
Sure, go ahead and post the discount. The code is Headway 50. I mean, it's easy.
Yeah, and it should be right there on your page, guys. Actually, it's not, so just put in Headway 50. And I'll put that in the chat box for everybody as well.
Let me address a couple. I know a lot of people are wanting to know when this is going to be out. We're not going to release it until it's ready, and I know that's kind of a smart aleck remark, but it really, this is a huge new update, new version of Headway. One of the things we're trying to make extreme. We want to make this extremely important to everybody. Is we want the upgrade from 3. Whatever version to 4.0 to be as seamless as possible, and we're not going to push this out until we know for sure that that's possible. As far as time frame, I think we discussed a little bit today, and Clay, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I hope we get this out as soon as possible. We're probably looking, I would say, within 4 weeks. I don't know, is that right, Clay?
Yeah, 4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah, and it also depends on beta testing, on how quick we can get the final version out, and that's why it's always so important for everybody that is a developer license holder to really help us out on beta testing, to get us that feedback as soon as possible, and to make sure you test it and test it hard, because that really helps us, helps Clay and his team to make sure that we push out something when it's ready. I can tell you right now, we're not going to have this be the same huge update that we had and the issues we had when we moved from 2.0 to 3.0, and that's why it's taken us this long.
Just to expand on that, this is running the same exact data platform as Headway 3. This is why we made those big changes in Headway 3.7, moving to a custom MySQL tables, because there's much more stability, it's faster, and we have more control over that data. And it'll mean upgrades to 4.0 are going to be seamless. We will include a legacy grid renderer because obviously some of you may have blocks placed with these vertical gaps that won't be respected with the current grid render, but will in 4. So we're going to have to work out some switches that you'll activate on certain layouts if you want to use a new grid render or the old one. But that's going to be the only hiccup during upgrade. Design will be simple. All we have to do is take the CSS that's generated and move it into our new system, and then everything will work flawlessly.
Let me address a couple just administrative questions here. We don't give an additional discount on renewals. You already get a 50% discount. We just simply don't, because we don't want to give our product away, because the team works extremely hard on this, and quite frankly, I'm not going to give it away. The 50% discount ends tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time. So jump on it. Don't wait, because it will not be extended. We're not going to extend it past 6 p.m. tomorrow. And if you do miss the 50%, we will have a 35% discount until 11:59 p.m. Friday Central Time. And we'll send out an email with that discount code, probably sometime tomorrow, late tomorrow. Were there other questions, Terry? Because I'm trying to keep up with them, but it's kind of hard.
Yeah, there's tons of questions. Did you get access to the Q&A panel that I sent you about halfway in?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Headway business license holders, if you own 3.0, you get a free upgrade to 4.0.
You do have to have an active license, though.
Yes, you have to have an active license to get 4.0.
Awesome. And then one of the questions that Laszlo had is, have you made any improvements to the pin board? And was wondering about if you had any developments on that end.
There's no specific improvements on pin board in Headway 4. There might have been some in 3.8.3, but I can't remember. If you have any suggestions or if you're having any problems with it, feel free to email us, and we'll get those implemented.
And then another question that people are asking is are there any new plans in the works regarding mobile menu options?
Yes, there are. We're looking at different JavaScript libraries to handle it. We may implement one of them, we may implement 2, but there'll be options. So you'll be able to add your hamburger menus where you have those 3 little bars, and other new responsive menus.
Excellent, excellent. And then another question was asked regarding just about like default styling. Is there going to be any changes or different ways of the default styling will be made?
Yeah, we're gonna have a new template that ships with Headway, and it's probably gonna be something similar with different fonts, and then we'll remove a few things like box shadow. We'll probably also ship whiteboard as well as this classic template with Headway 4. But of course, you can always go into the new design editor when we show you that and remove those styles that you don't want. And trust me, Headway 4 is much snappier than Headway 3.
Faster is better in the world of business. Speed is money, right?
Yes, sir.
Pam is asking, how will things shake out with responsive designs when the blocks are able to be placed randomly or anywhere?
At the moment, it's really just controlled by the order that they're rendered in the HTML. So if I do something like this, I'll show you a quick demo. Save. I think I have too many Chrome tabs open. Too many windows. One sec. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so you'll notice that the widget area on the right side in the grid is actually floated right. So in the HTML, it's going to come before this content. So on the phone, that widget area will actually show up before the content. We will have tools to control the layout on the mobile devices, but it won't ship with 4.0. It'll likely be in Headway 4.1 or minor release after 4.0 is released.
Derek is asking, will all the blocks work with version 4.0?
Yes, all current blocks will work with Headway 4.
And then, God, so many questions so fast.
Anyone asking if you have a license, you will get 4.0 as long as your license is active and isn't expired. You can renew at any time, and we do give a generous 50% discount on that renewal.
All right, so John is asking about scripts. I guess he's asking if there's any thing that you plan in terms of being able to do anything with scripts. Does that sound familiar?
We've kicked around that idea for, I swear, for years now. It's been 6.
Well, can you explain to everybody who might not know what that means, what you're referencing, so they can kind of keep up with all us techies?
I think, John, you're talking about scripts, like a scripts manager, so you can add in your analytics or, say, certain JavaScript libraries. That's something we've talked about. I just don't know if it belongs in a Headway core. If anything, it might be a decent add-on for the developer package. But at this...
Here's what I'd say, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Clay, is if you're trying to add scripts into the site, then my recommendation is use Google's Tag Manager. That's exactly what that whole ecosystem's designed for. And then you can just drop in the container code into your website, and then you can basically remotely use Google Tag Manager to insert any scripts that you want remotely. So that's my opinion on the way it is now. Again, Clay, obviously for you guys to decide if you want to implement that or develop that internally, of course, is obviously at your discretion.
John, as far as Retina support for images and header blocks go, I do want to hit on Retina images in 4.0. I just haven't gotten there quite yet. Gotta knock the big things out like the grid renderer and the design mode first. Sorry, actually, it's not a mode anymore. Design editor.
Yeah, you can. It's like the new lingo, right? It's just one panel. And so here's a question. Here's a question no one's really asked, but isn't it really now kind of a modified wireframe to where you could basically kind of do mock-ups for the client without having to necessarily do a separate wireframe? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
As far as wireframing goes, Headway is useful in that sense. I know a lot of the designers, including Andy, actually go straight from their brain to Headway rather than opening it up in Sketch or Photoshop and designing it in there. They go straight to Headway. And with Headway 4, it's even easier because you see the blocks that you're adding visually and you see the styling. So it really has become a design tool in a sense.
One of the questions that Damon has was, will you be able to edit Gravity and formidable forms?
I did forget to mention with the new design editor, since it is powered by raw CSS, we won't be storing the CSS and individual options like we do currently in 3. It's all going to go to CSS, so this means that you can edit absolutely any element on the page, including pseudo selectors such as hover, active, meaning you click something, or other advanced CSS selectors. You'll be able to do it with Headway, and you'll even be able to right-click on any element. Whether we give that element a name or not, you'll be able to edit it.
Very nice.
Let me jump in here. There's a question back here from Ray about a lifetime license. We will be, we have offered lifetime licenses in the past, and if we do have that option available, we just don't advertise it, and probably with 4.0, and Clay and I need to talk about this some more, so I'm kind of jumping in here and making a decision. I'm hoping we have that option up on the site as on the pricing page as an option to actually purchase a lifetime license. If you're interested in one, you can always send me an email. We'll visit about it.
And maybe just to help these guys out, these ladies and gentlemen out, if you do that request, maybe you should do it as a tweet with maybe hashtag WordPress and try to give these guys a little bit of attention and love, and maybe refer some traffic to them. So I think that in exchange for the opportunity to get a lifetime license and saving on annual stuff, that would be a cool way to show some love for that. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that, Grant, or is there anything else you wanted to go, or do you want to go back to Q&A?
No, I'm trying to keep up with the questions, and it's impossible. But
so Winston's asking, what about preset home pages and pages, quick presets set up?
As far as presets go, my Chrome is really locking up. I'm gonna.
One of the other questions, Clay, was, will you be able to add your own presets or not?
Possibly down the road, not immediately with 4.0, but that is something I do want to add because I've always never liked the static aspect of the grid wizard, and that's something I want to hit on. And actually, these images are SVGs, so that means I could then make whatever you make in the grid render into an SVG, which is basically a vector graphic, and then we'll be able to show that over in the add wrapper panel. And there'll be much more presets for the header, blog area, and portfolio and footers. Those aren't in here right now. There won't be entire pages that you can add. You'll just simply piece together the header with blog area or portfolio, and then add a footer as well.
And Grant, we're getting, again, questions about if your account says like no renewal required lifetime, then I don't need to purchase 4.0. So people are wondering about, again, how do they get the upgrade?
As far as...
I'm sorry, Eric, I was muted and I was trying to do two things at once. What did you say?
Just people are wondering how can they take advantage of the upgrade, jumping from version 3.8 to 4.0.
How can they take advantage of it?
Yeah, they're wondering, like, do I have to pay, or if I have no license renewal, do they have to worry about getting access to the upgrade? They're just confused about how they'll migrate to the new version.
If they have an active license, they'll get access to the upgrade.
As far as legacy licenses where it's complete lifetime and you bought in when it was lifetime, we're still thinking about it. Headway 4 is obviously a lot of work, and we have to keep the lights on, not to play a pity party, but you did get Headway 1 if you started back then, Headway 2, and Headway 3. Again, there's no guarantee that you will get it, and there's no guarantee that you won't get it. We're going back and forth on it.
Here's an interesting question. Can the floating boxes be moved outside the browser? I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, but maybe you can address that.
As far as the block options boxes and wrapper option boxes that are popping up, like these, no, unfortunately not. But maybe we could add a button right there and make that a possibility if people are interested.
I think the one question stemmed from, if you're using a dual monitor, can you move it over to the other monitor?
Not at the moment. You can do that with Live CSS though, and like I said, we may add a button here to pop this out into a separate window so you can move it over to your other display, but it's not implemented right now. It's a good idea though.
I'm sorry, so I'm trying to read the questions and listen to your answers, so if this is a repeat, Clay, my apologies. But Gerard is asking, are people going to be able to save their own presets?
Yeah, I think I already addressed that with the wrappers over here with the presets. But it won't be immediately available in 4 and Headway 4, but probably in Headway 4.x. I can't tell you which one though.
And some people are wondering, is there an easy way that people can create a default setup that they can customize for their own use, or will they just have to simply use whatever you're giving them in the next version for a default setup?
As far as default setups go, you can load in a different template that you use on your projects, and that can be, in a sense, your default setup. Template creation is going to remain in the admin panel where it is now. And as far as going back to the lifetime licenses, if you bought an actual lifetime license in the past 2-3 years, then it's lifetime. But we're just talking about the people who joined us 5 to 6 years ago. And if we do decide to charge those people for upgrades, then you will get the 50% discount. It won't be from like starting from square one.
And then Mike's asking about what about shared layouts? I'm not sure exactly if you have enough detail on that to answer that, Clay, but
shared layouts are going to work like they always do. The layout selector really hasn't changed any. One thing that I've been thinking about but haven't implemented yet is an easier way to manage wrappers at the top and bottom of a page. So I know a lot of people have header wrappers that are going to have your header block, your navigation block, and so on, and then another wrapper at the bottom. I guess I can just drop these in for demonstration's sake. So they might have a wrapper down here and up here. I know a lot of people then go into the layout selector, clone an existing layout, and then remove everything in between those two wrappers to customize it differently. My plan is to make it so you can designate a number of headers as a header wrapper and then a footer wrapper, and then you can choose if those are displayed on a page or not. So it should be a much better workflow.
See here, and then Gerard is asking about font awesome ? I guess he's asking if that's going to be integrated.
We don't have any icon font integrations planned at the moment, but it is a good idea. Again, there's just so many things to implement. We have to prioritize certain things.
Sure. And then Samu, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is asking, are new block types going to be added?
I don't have any to show you, but we do have some in development. There's a maps block that I know the guys from Headway Rocket helped us out with. I think we're also planning on building a really simple contact block. I know I had a few other block ideas in mind, but I'm blanking out on them right now.
We talked about excuse me, talked about doing a timer block.
Yes, yeah. After doing the webinar page, I was like, that'd be a good block. So yeah, we're gonna do a timer block. And one cool thing is since you can see what you're drawing out with the blocks, it'll be easier to add certain blocks that are a button. So I could draw a button out this big, or I can make it this big and turn it into a button. And that's what we'll be adding as well.
Cool. Yeah, and hopefully I'll get a little bit of street cred for coming up with the timer idea. Just saying. And I'm hoping that you can implement some of the stuff we talked about from the search engine optimization standpoint with some of the technical coding of the site. So I don't know. Hopefully that'll be on the roadmap. Don't want to put you on the spot, Clay, to talk about that, but definitely hoping we can get that included at some point.
Eric, let me jump in here again.
Sure.
I'm noticing a lot of comments in here about the old timers, the seniors, and I can respect that since I'm going to be 55 in October. We have not made a final decision on that, and we appreciate everybody's input on this. It's something that Clay and I have been discussing and cussing about now for probably weeks. So everybody just calm down. Whatever decision we make, it'll be the decision that we feel is best for Headway and for the community. I realize some people may not like a decision that's made, but sometimes those decisions are made based on what scales best for a business, and we don't do this for free. But so email me your input. You can send me an email at grant@headwaythemes.com. If you want to cuss about it, that's fine. I'll listen to everything everybody has to say about any changes in the licensing of Headway. So the thing that we don't want to have is a debacle like WooCommerce had or WooThemes had, or even PageLines, because we don't do business like either one of them. So with that being said, let's talk about things more positive now.
Awesome. So Carlo's asking, is the preset available in the API so I can implement presets with my blocks?
That's not exposed to the API quite yet. I don't really have plans for that quite yet, but it's a good idea. I know I'm saying that a lot, but it's something we can look into.
Well, type in the chat box, number one, if you guys are excited to celebrate version 4.0. I mean, let's give Clay a big round of applause, because obviously he's been hard at work for a very long time, and it's still not even done. And the cool part is here he is live, investing their time on a Friday here, past work hours in their time zone, trying to make sure that you guys, and me included, right, can get the best software possible so that we can run successful agencies or have the best websites built possible. And so, Clay, hey, it's totally cool, like, if you don't have all the answers, but what's great is that you're willing to say, hey, that is a good idea, and we can implement that. We can figure out how to do that. And that's one of the reasons why, I made the investment years ago to be a part of Headway, because, again, you guys are always on the edge of technology and making the best updates possible, really probably, years ahead of some of the other people that are out there. So, I just personally want to say thank you for that, because I know it's made our lives a whole heck of a lot easier. And if you're a small business owner and you're not necessarily doing like web design as a business, one of the things that I can definitely appreciate is that it's fairly easy to make edits and updates to your own site, so that you're not necessarily having to hire, a company like ours or some of these experts that are out here, in the audience. And I know some of you as experts might not want to hear that, but I know you're probably using Headway, because I know Jamie talked about it, like, hey, we give you the flexibility to do things that you need to do because it's in the best interests of your success. So wanted to say, hey, very cool. And we're getting lots of feedback from people just saying, hey, great things, very happy with the support, and that you've done a great job, Clay.
Thanks, everyone. I'm really excited to get this out the door eventually. People are still asking. We'll probably have a beta in 4 to 5 weeks. Things are moving extremely quickly now. It may even be sooner.
Well, cool. I think that's pretty much, Graham, congratulations on upgrading to developer status. That's awesome. Definitely getting lots of good feedback from everybody. So, Clay, definitely want to say thank you for coming out of the cave, right? You've probably been like, your fingers are probably needing some massage therapy, physical therapy for all the fast coding you've been doing. And so I don't know, Grant, if you want to come in and just kind of wrap this up. I know we're going on about an hour and 20 minutes or so. So, Grant.
I have my mic muted because I guess I echo. So, but no, I don't have anything else to add. If anybody has any input, questions, email those to me. I'll put my email address down here. Send it to me at grant@headwaythemes.com. I really appreciate everybody coming. I think you can see that Clay and his team have been working very, very hard on not only 4.0, but also making sure that 3.x continues to function and work the way everybody needs it to and the way we want it to. And that's why we're on, we pushed out 3.8.3. It will either be out today or shortly. I know we're all looking very, forward to pushing out 4.0. We feel it's going to be a huge step to the continued future of Headway. So I really appreciate the work the team's been putting into this and the input we've had from everybody in the community. And that's all I have.
Well, cool. I just want to say thank you, Grant, for inviting me, and I'm honored and privileged to have been included to be able to be the guest MC for today. And if you guys are interested, I will be hosting just a general marketing webinar in the future. Grant will let you know about that, just so you guys know. I'm not going to be sending you guys a whole bunch of emails or anything like that. So if I do, unsubscribe is totally cool. But Grant, I just want to say thank you so much again. Jamie, thank you for the quick demonstration. You probably blew some of the beginners out of the water, so just know there's tons of support and documentation and help, and there's forums and support ticket systems that are helping you to build your own website if that's what you're trying to do, or maybe you're starting a design agency. Again, Clay, please try to get some sleep, because I know you've been toiling away trying to get everything prepared for today, just to even be able to showcase version 4.0 today, giving the sneak peek to everybody. And congratulations on you guys again as a team on celebrating your 6th birthday. Again, you have 24 hours, 6 p.m. Central Time, tomorrow on Saturday, August 1st, to get a 50% discount using the promo code Headway50. And then beyond that, I think we said it was till 11:59 p.m. on Friday of next week. You can get a 35% discount in case you're watching this. Yes, this is being recorded, and it will be available here on demand very shortly. So with that said, I guess I'll just go ahead and wrap this up, unless you guys want to interrupt, and we'll see you guys on the web.
Thanks for attending, everyone, and thank you, Eric.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Derek.
Bye-bye, everybody.
See ya.
All right. Au revoir.
Bye.